There's another picture in the papers this morning we're going to talk about now because the Toby Carvery pub chain says it was responsible for cutting down an ancient oak tree thought to be more than 400 years old in a park in North London.
Yes, council workers discovered what had happened when they found the trunk still standing last week.
We find a report which says an oak tree cut down in North London was a fine specimen that would have lived for years.
And coming up, the ancient oak tree felled in North London could have lived for another few hundred years, according to the local council.
Good evening. The cutting down of a single tree in North London has continued to spark anger, with many people, local and further afield, outraged that an oak tree that was hundreds of years old was chopped down by a restaurant chain. The owners of Toby Carvery have come under fierce criticism after 3 separate statements yesterday, effectively saying the oak in Enfield came down for health and safety reasons. But documents seen by this programme show in 2023 the tree was inspected and said to be in good health, something the council and experts have echoed. With more, here's Layla Hayes.
Why was this ancient oak tree chopped down? That's the question now being asked, not just here in Enfield, but across the country.
It's just awful. It's just awful. I mean, obviously it takes us back to what happened with the sycamore. It's just vandalism, absolute vandalism. And I just hope that we get to the bottom of it.
The tree is next to Toby Carvery in Whitewebs Park, and the council-owned land is leased to the restaurant's owner, Mitchells and Butlers. Today, the leader of the council said they now plan to take legal action against them.
I am outraged. Unfortunately, the leaseholder did not consult us as the landowner, and they should have. Our experts, our tree officers, surveyed this tree in December 2024, and they said it's healthy, it's alive, it could live another a few hundred years. And so I completely opposed the argument from the leaseholder that this posed a health and safety risk.
Save our trees! Local residents have been fighting to stop Enfield Council selling off part of the park to Spurs Football Club to expand their training ground. But the council said the land where the tree is located is not part of the proposed development. This is how Google Street View captured the oak in its former glory. But on the 3rd of April, a member of the public spotted contractors chopping it down. Toby Carvery's owners initially said they cut down the tree because their experts told them it was dead and posed a serious health and safety risk. But all the experts we've spoken to dispute that and say these green shoots show it's very much alive.
I can't see any reason from a health and safety perspective whatsoever. No major structural faults, the tree being in really good health, really good physiological condition. Earlier this morning I examined the buds, and you can tell a lot about the tree's health from looking at its buds, and they look to be in great, really healthy condition to me, and the twigs had a really good structure. So clearly the tree wasn't dead.
We asked Toby Carvery's owners for information about the contractor that cut down the tree, but that hasn't been supplied. They continue to insist that it was a potential health and safety risk and that all legal requirements were met. But there are still many unanswered questions. Layla Hayes, BBC London.
Well, let's stay with this subject now because I'm joined by John Stokes, who's Director of Tree Science and Research at the Tree Council. And Mr. Stokes, what was your reaction when you heard the oak tree was felled?
Well, it was a very shocking experience to see the pictures because you could see a remarkably old tree that's had its head taken off, really. It was a horrible sight to behold.
But the tree was described in a survey report from 2023 as a fine specimen, but it did recommend work to reduce the crown of the tree, like you just mentioned there. What's your professional opinion? Would it need to be chopped down, do you think?
Nothing that I've heard from my colleagues across the industry over the last few days, people who've actually seen it, has suggested that it was in anything other than good health. And so the work that's been done to it is far in excess of anything that was necessary. And it should have been done sensitively. It should have been done carefully, because this is a 450, 500-year-old tree, possibly even older than that. And, you know, in Enfield. I don't know how many things there are of that age, but it's got to be one of the oldest things in the area, and therefore it should have been treated with care. It should have been treated as part of the national heritage, as something that should have been protected, and what has been done is not that.
But Mitchells and Butlers, the owners of Toby Carvery, say they acted with health and safety in their mind. When that happens, isn't it OK to take the action that they did?
Well, so health and safety is always a very easy way of explaining why you've done that sort of thing to a tree. But for example, over in Cambridgeshire and Ely, they've got a really ancient old London plane, again, part of the nation's heritage. They've got a lottery grant so that they can do the right thing by the tree, to look after it, to protect it, to do it properly. And if these trees had been given sort of protection nationally, so that we know that the important trees of the nation and we protect them, then this wouldn't have happened, because you'd have had better instructions before you started.
Now, would you say that there are gaps in the law? I know the Tree Council said a short time ago in a report that there are gaps in the law when it comes to protecting trees. Like what?
I mean, we were commissioned by DEFRA to prepare a report following, as one of your interviewees earlier said, following the Sycamore Gap incident. And it is truly ironic that the day we publish the report is the day that I get to hear about this particular tree. And there are lots of things that could be done to better protect them. I mean, we need to think about nationally about a sort of listing system, so that trees, like listed buildings, you have the best of the best have legal protection. You know, anything that's 400 or 500 years old ought to have national protection. And if we could have a new system that looked at the way in which we protected these trees, and then if you were the owner or the manager of the tree, you could potentially get some grant and support, like you do with a listed building, to do the right thing by it. Yeah. Again, none of this would have happened.
No, that's understood. John Stokes, thank you for your time this evening from the Tree Council. Many thanks. Well, we did, as you'd expect, invite Mitchells and Butlers, who take responsibility for chopping down the tree, onto the programme this evening. It was their right to decline, and they did. However, a message to M&B who will be watching this evening: the invitation to come on the programme still stands. Please think about it. Just let us know you have our details.